for the workers and every other person to stay at home and celebrate with their family. We want to say congratulations once again, and of course happy Friday, happy Jummah to all our Muslim brothers as well who are also in the holy month of Ramadan. You are welcome to another edition of Headline Newspaper Headlines on OSBC TV. Bale Oshogbo. My name is Tajuddin Ahmad. Of course, as we used to do on daily basis, we have brought to you all the dailies that we have in Nigeria, and the major headlines is what we are going to discuss this morning on the show. We have for you the Punch, we have the Nation newspaper as well. Leadership is also out today and with us here. So also the Sun newspaper, as well as the Daily Asset, and of course Tribune, Blueprint, Leadership, Daily Trust, This Day, and the Daily Times. All these newspapers, they have major headlines as regards the political environment of Nigeria and what is happening around all this. This and many more are what we are going to take a look at on the newspaper headline today, Friday, on OSBC. And let's start with our first newspaper this morning, which is the Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper with this major headline: interim government, parties back military as divisional headquarter rubbishes plot, says calls illegal. Interim government, parties back military as divisional headquarter rubbishes plot, says calls illegal, and it has this also as riders. INEC has announced president-elect, interim government can't stand, DHQ warns. INEC has announced president-elect, interim government can't stand, DHQ warns. Also, as part of the rider, call for interim government a coup, treasonable, unpatriotic, as coming from APC, PDP, and NPP. Call for interim government a coup, treasonable, unpatriotic, APC, PDP, and NPP. And the last rider under the military cannot interpret constitution, says Labour Party, tells DHQ to avoid politics. Military cannot interpret constitution, says Labour Party, tells DHQ to avoid politics. That's the newspaper you are seeing on the screen on the Punch newspaper. Also, we have another headline, but under that, this is just the brief of the story. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Musa Damadami, stated that in Abuja during the bi-weekly update with journalists on armed forces of Nigeria operations. He condemned the clamor for an interim government by those unhappy with the outcome of the presidential election, stating that the IMG was illegal and unconstitutional. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, the All Progressives Congress, and the New Nigeria People's Party supported the military's pledge to defend the constitution. You can find that on the Punch of today. Also, still talking about the headlines on the Punch newspaper. Reps probe alleged 20 billion naira diversion by NNPCL officials. Reps probe alleged 20 billion naira diversion by NNPCL officials. Also, you can find that on the front page of the Punch newspaper. And still talking about the headline, the same newspaper. Sacked Labour Party chair blames APC as police occupy secretariat. Sacked Labour Party chair blames APC as police occupy secretariat. And also the same newspaper. Killer herdsmen raid Benue community, kill policemen, 45 others. Killer herdsmen raid Benue community, kill policemen, 45 others. Also, that will be found on the front page of the Punch newspaper, and you can find the picture as regard the decoration of the newly promoted DIG, AIG, and others in the same newspaper. And also, let's take this before we leave the Punch newspaper. Remain in Lagos for census. Ohanaeze tells Igbo. Remain in Lagos for census. Ohanaeze tells Igbo. This and many more can be found in the newspaper today from the Punch newspaper. And quickly, let's go to another newspaper as the Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper with this major headline: Why Tinubu was elected by US-based observer mission. Why Tinubu was elected by US-based observer mission. And it has this to say: American diplomat and foreign observer Johnny Carson yesterday explained why Asiwaju Bola Tinubu won the February 25 presidential election. He said the All Progressives Congress (APC) standard bearer achieved victory because of his formidable political party, access to resources for oiling his political machinery, and sufficient speed work at the grassroots. And we can find more about this from the Nation newspaper. And still talking about headlines on the Nation newspaper. Macron seeks China's action to end Russia-Ukraine war. Macron seeks China's action to end Russia-Ukraine war. And also, the same newspaper, leadership crisis tears Labour Party apart. Leadership crisis tears Labour Party apart. And we also have this same newspaper, Obasanjo urges incoming government to begin healing reconciliation. Obasanjo urges incoming government to begin healing reconciliation. And prayer on me to go into self-exile will be alleges. Prayer on me to go into self-exile will be alleges. We are going to find out the front page of the Nation newspaper. Before we go, let's also take this, which is similar to the one we read a moment ago from the Punch newspaper. Mischief makers plotting interim government, says DHQ. Mischief makers plotting interim government, says DHQ. This is also contained on the front page of the Nation newspaper. And before we leave that newspaper, let's also take this headline, which says, no easy electoral victory again, Buhari tells politicians. No easy electoral victory again, Buhari tells politicians. You can find these and more from the front page of the Nation newspaper. And we'll quickly move to another newspaper with us this morning, which is the Sun newspaper. The Sun newspaper also has a major headline which says, Bloody Day in Lagos, Edo, Benue, others. Bloody Day in Lagos, Edo, Benue, others. That will be found on the Sun newspaper, and it has this rider: gunmen kill 3 policemen, 49 others, scores injured, cut away weapons. Gunmen kill 3 policemen, 40 others, scores injured, cut away weapons. And this is just the brief about the story. Barely 72 hours to Easter celebration. Nigerians are living in fear over the activities of gunmen who appear to be having a field day, living in their true blood, tears, and sorrow. No fewer than 52 people, including the policemen, were reportedly killed, while scores were injured in different attacks by the armed bandits in Benue, Lagos, and Edo State in the last 24 hours. In Edo, gunmen yesterday killed 3 policemen and injured the 4th person near the Ago Market along the Igara-Auchi Road in Edo State. It was gathered that the officers were returning to their duty post when the unfortunate incident occurred. You can find more about this from that headline on the Sun newspaper. And still talking about the headline on the Sun newspaper, Ohanaeze to petition Buhari National Assembly over profiling of Igbo in Lagos. Ohanaeze to petition Buhari National Assembly over profiling of Igbo in Lagos. This is in front page of that paper, and we also have this to say from the newspaper: National Reconciliation. Obasanjo recommends national reconciliation. And we also have this to say about the rep. That newspaper reps hot 15 billion naira NDDC flood control expenditure. Reps hot 15 billion naira NDDC flood control expenditure. This and many more on the front page of that newspaper. And quickly, let's also run through some other newspaper this morning because we have many of them now. To New Telegraph newspaper today, Friday, with this major headline: Nigeria under threats of undemocratic forces. Obasanjo. Nigeria under threats of undemocratic forces. Obasanjo, as the former president is saying that. And also the same newspaper: interim government unconstitutional, not applicable. That's DHQ. Interim government unconstitutional, not applicable. DHQ. Same newspaper: government kill 4 policemen, 48 others in Benue, Lagos, Edo. And also Enugu APC expels Chime Okechukwu Hodo. Enugu APC expels Chime Okechukwu Hodo. And these are some of the major headlines from the New Telegraph newspaper. And before we go, let's also take one beneath the picture of the president. Their polls: loss of governor's bid for Senate means no more easy route to power. Buhari. Polls: loss of governor's bid for Senate means no more easy route to power. That's coming from President Muhammadu Buhari, saying that for you to hold any political office in Nigeria is not a walk in the park. Again, that you have a lot of things to do. Let's talk business this morning as we go to daily assets, and we have this also. That will be the first on election as well. Buhari, Obasanjo differ on 2023 election outcome. Buhari, Obasanjo differ on 2023 election outcome. The front page of daily asset, that is where you are going to find out, and it has these riders. Polls: big shame makes Nigeria more divided. Obasanjo. Polls: big shame makes Nigeria more divided. Obasanjo. Buhari: election proves voter sophistication. Buhari: election proves voter sophistication. And from that, we also talk about the security. Death tolls in Benue, suspected herdsmen attack reaches 46. Death toll in Benue, suspected herdsmen attack reaches 46. That means about 46 people were killed in that herdsmen attack in part of Benue community. And now about business from that angle. Naira design: banks deposit with CBN drop by 95.82%. Naira design: banks deposits with CBN dropped by 95.82%. And Apex Bank removes Tier 1 account not linked to BVN. Apex Bank removes Tier 1 account not linked to BVN. And it's also talking about the Naira redesign and some other things came as aftermath of that policy from the Central Bank of Nigeria and of course the federal government of Nigeria. Now to Tribune newspaper. Tribune newspaper with this major headline: Nigeria more divided than we thought. Obasanjo. Nigeria more divided than we thought. Obasanjo. And it has these riders. Says incoming government must seek national reconciliation. And another rider describes last election as show of shame. Describes last election as show of shame. And the last one there decries growing debt profile. Says country spending like drunken sailors. That's also coming from Obasanjo. Decries growing debt profile, says country spending like drunken sailors. We're going to find out and what the former president said concerning the Nigerian economy as regards some of the policy of the federal government, and also the attack in Benue Committee and some other parts of Nigeria. You can find that, as we have read in other newspapers. It's also here on the Tribune newspaper. But let's talk something else as we take a look at the National Assembly. We have this major headline from the same newspaper, that's Tribune. 10th Senate presidency race hots up as dark horses emerge. 10th Senate presidency race hots up as dark horses emerge. And we also have this from the political angle. Leadership crisis hits Labour Party. Leadership crisis hits Labour Party. National VP, that's the rider under that. National VP South says he is acting chairman. National VP South says he is acting chairman. I still talking politics from the Tribune newspaper. Wase Aliu, Lalu Abbas, 2 others in battle for speakership. Wase Aliu, Lalu Abbas, 2 others in battle for speakership. That is from the angle of the leadership of the Federal House of Representatives in Abuja. We leave that, we go to another newspaper, Blueprint newspaper. But what we have is also about politics, and we can find those from almost all the newspaper that we have this morning. Blueprint newspaper, with 2023 polls, no more easy route to power. Buhari, with 2023 polls, no more easy route to power. It's coming from the President Muhammadu Buhari. And on top of it, we also have that suspected, herdsmen and the number of attacks that came up from these herdsmen in Nigeria, particularly from Benue community, where the attacks continue almost on a daily basis. Well, we have many of them, and of course the newspaper that we have read, all the newspapers that we have looked at this morning, they have that particular headline, which has to say that many people were killed from the herdsmen attack. And we also talk this from the Blueprint newspaper. China Development Bank to fund $973 million Kaduna Kano Rail project. Senate. China Development Bank to fund $973 million Kaduna Kano Rail project. Senate is giving assurance that China will come into help from that angle. And let's talk about other newspaper. Daily Trust newspaper. From Daily Trust newspaper, we have this major headline. Experts flay FG's $800 million palliatives. Experts flay FG's $800 million palliatives. That will be found on the front page of Daily Trust newspaper. And on top of it, the same newspaper is also talking about the National Assembly. It says 10th National Assembly, APC governors give yardstick for choosing principal officers. 10th National Assembly, APC governors give yardstick for choosing principal officers. And it also has this to say about the airline, that's it, from business angle. Airlines cancel flight as FAAN oil marketers clash in Abuja. Airlines cancel flights as FAAN oil marketers clash in Abuja. And from sports, with that angle, FIFA ranking, Nigeria slips to lowest position in 4 years. FIFA ranking, Nigeria slips to lowest position in 4 years. And with that, we go to another newspaper, This Day newspaper of today, and it's also saying something about what the president said about those who will be competing for the offices of, particularly the governorship offices in Nigeria, that no more easy route to power than electorate. No more easy route to power than electorate coming from Buhari. And let's talk about the headline, the topmost headline from this day newspaper. World Bank: Nigeria's growth recovery still fragile as oil production remains subdued. World Bank: Nigeria's growth recovery still fragile as oil production remains subdued. You're going to find that in the front page of this day newspaper. And we also have other newspapers. Let's quickly run through them. Daily Times: Military opens up on calls for interim government. Military opens up on calls for interim government. This rider, as OBJ calls 2023 polls show of shame. As OBJ calls 2023 polls show of shame. Then on top of that newspaper, as Buhari to politicians: underrate Nigerian voters at your peril. Buhari to politicians: underrate Nigerian voters at your peril. And we also have more from this newspaper, and it's talking about this. That's the same newspaper. Motivating Nigeria's tech-savvy entrepreneurs for productivity. Motivating Nigeria's tech-savvy entrepreneurs for productivity. That's from that newspaper. And let's now take a look at the last newspaper this morning. That is the Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper. This major headline: Nigeria more divided after 2023 elections. Obasanjo. Nigeria more divided after 2023 elections. Obasanjo. This rider: polls have proved growing strength of our democracy, says Buhari. Polls have proved growing strength of our democracy, says Buhari. And from that newspaper, the business angle says MGX all share index down by 2.61% as market cap shed 675 billion naira in 1 week. MGX all share index down by 2.61% as market cap shed 675 billion naira in 1 week. And you are going to find this and more from the Point newspaper. The Point newspaper. These are the newspapers that we have brought to you this morning, and we have actually run through some of the major headlines, leaving you with them for those you might be interested to read, particularly as regards what the former president Olusegun Obasanjo said, and of course the response from Buhari and his advice for those who might be willing to contest for one position or the other. And of course the attack from Benue community and some part of Lagos and Edo, we have also touched them from our newspaper review this morning on Osbc, and you can find more and more about some of the news that we have read out, some of the headlines that we have read out in some of these newspapers. We want to appreciate you for staying tuned to Osbc on daily basis, and we want to assure you that on Monday we shall also be back with another presenter, and of course the analysts who will also take you around some of the headlines, particularly as we will be celebrating Easter on Monday. That's Easter Monday. Let's draw the curtain on today's show as we say happy Good Friday to everybody and happy Juma to all our Muslim brothers. My name once again is Tajuddin Ahmad. We'll meet next week, God's willing. Until then, I say bye for now.